AI only knows what everybody else has known forever. So it's trapped into a world of its own creating because it's drawing on sources that already exist. It is a major vomiter of what we already know.
Welcome to AI Experience, the podcast that demystifies artificial intelligence. My name is Julien Redelsperger, and we are going to find out how AI is changing the world. And I'm super happy to welcome Peter Moore. He's an editor, writer, illustrator, animator, co-author, radio guest, TV guest, speaker, editorial consultant, and journalism lecturer. That is a lot. He currently works as a columnist, cartoonist for the Colorado Sun and a commentator animator for NPR. So today, we will talk about AI and humor. Is AI funny? What makes it funny or not funny? Are creative writers and cartoonists in danger? Hey, Peter, thank you for joining me today. How are you?
I'm fine. And this is not the robot version of me. This is actual me, just in case your listeners are wondering.
Absolutely. And I confirm this is the real you. So maybe, Peter, before we go into, humor and what's funny and AI, do you mind just introducing yourself in just 2 minutes? Like, who are you? What do you do? And why do you have this special interest about AI?
Yeah, I had a long career in magazines and books. I worked for Playboy magazine, for Backpacker, for Men's Health, wrote a bunch of New York Times bestsellers, and then the whole world collapsed on me during COVID, and I had to reinvent myself as a producer, as a creator. And that's when I began cartooning and really leaning on my sense of humor to make a living. And it has been tentative. I wouldn't declare myself a success by any means, but what it has made clear to me is that I need to make friends with the technological world in a way that I wasn't forced to back when my words were appearing in print. So, my career as a cartoonist has risen at the same time as the presence of AI. So I've been eyeing it warily and thinking about it a lot, about whether or not it replaced me, how much of a threat it is to me. And you know what, as a guy who's makes his living being funny, I had to find out whether or not AI could be funny too. So that's the journey I'm on. And it's a fun one. And I hope it continues and that some robot doesn't strangle me in my sleep and I don't get to, do it anymore.
I hope so too. So, Peter, you spend your career making people think and laugh. So, what do you believe humor is so central to the human experience?
Well, what humor is and what is great about it is it allows us to step outside ourselves. I, as much as anyone, have been guilty of self-obsession at certain times in my life. The whole navel gazing thing can be dangerous for you, especially if you're a creator, because there's lint in there and it's dark in your navel. Nothing good is going to come from there. So what I like about humor is that I find that my persona as a humorist is standing outside myself and pointing and laughing at the most ridiculous behaviors that I indulge in and that others do. What's funny about the world. I feel like that perspective, standing outside myself, is very useful to me to prevent those, that self-obsession, and gives me a new way to look at my world and the world in general. Those are all super valuable things. It has changed me as a human being since I started uh, working as a humorist. I'm very grateful for that, and I feel like I'm psychologically more healthy because of it.
That's good. Good to know. And do you think the way you see humor has changed over the decades? I mean, you've worked in journalism, magazines, cartooning for a very long time. Did you see some trends or some changes over the year?
Yeah, I worked for 20 years at Men's Health magazine, which is forever. And one of the things we were doing there was we were making fun of a lot of people, pointing and laughing at behaviors, at body types, stuff like that. I even my wife and I are fans of the Mindy Project, which we watch on Amazon Prime, and so much of the humor in there, especially Mindy directing at herself, are fat jokes, and it feels like we've so moved beyond the fat joke era because you know what? Aren't we all fat in some ways? We have fat heads, we have fat bodies, we have, fat ideas. So you know, the thought of using humor to berate people, to to imply that being a drunk is somehow funny, all that stuff, I feel grateful that we've moved on to, and that there are other things in the world that are funny rather than people's physical characteristics. So to me, um, the best thing is that gay jokes, fat jokes, all of those have become unacceptable now. And I don't think it's like it's a symptom of wokeism. To me, it's a encouragement to move our humor on, to get off of that tired old idea of physical characteristics being funny, and move on to things that are more deeply humorous or scary in life than that sort of physical stuff. So I think that humor is refreshing itself always, and the things we leave behind we decide aren't funny just open up the horizon to new forms of humor, and that's always going to be a good thing.
And do you think that AI actually understands this? Understands that what was funny 30 years ago, 20 years ago may not be funny anymore? And because you have this sense, I mean, you feel the society, the people you talk to, you know the trends, you know what works, what doesn't work. What about AI?
AI only knows what everybody else has known forever. So it's trapped into in a world of its own creating, because it's drawing on sources that already exist and
Mhm.
regurgitating them. It is a major vomiter of what we already know. What we already know is not funny. What we already know is the straight man who's feeding lines to the humorist to make fun of what we all already know and accept. So I'm grateful to AI. I use it a lot um, to find out what is already known about whatever subject I'm writing about. But the genius in this, not that I'm calling myself a genius, but the spark of creativity in something is going from what is known to exploring the wild side of it. And AI will never explore the wild side because it only knows the mild side, the side that has already been agreed upon and written about for freaking ever. And that's why AI doesn't feel especially threatening to me, because it's never going to be funny.
Hmm. And so we know that media has gone from print to digital, then to digital to social media, TikTok memes. How has technology already reshaped the way humor works and spreads, according to your experience?
You know what? TikTok, before it, X, and Twitter, it's punchline devoted stuff. It's cutting to the chase, and humor. Brevity is the soul of wit. We've all heard that statement. Brevity is also the soul of the online and of TikTok and of social media. So if you can be funny and visually, with images, with what you say, and you can make it compact, you can reach unprecedented audiences. I'm always shocked when I have a Substack at petermoore.substack.com. And every now and then when I'm curious, I'll just click on a link or two to figure out where my audience is. And that there are 8 people in Tunisia who are laughing along with my Substack just blows my mind. So I'm deeply grateful to be in the 43 countries where people read me. And that never would have happened 20 years ago. So that is a vast opportunity to reach an audience that I hadn't even thought about before. And if any of my Tunisian listeners are listening to this, I thank you for your attention.
Does it change the way you produce your content? Like, you know, the audience you are reaching? Maybe you tend to be, I don't know, US centric, and then you realize, whoa, like lots of people over the world are reading me or consuming my content. So it doesn't change the way you approach your content.
Absolutely, it does. And I'm always very conscious when I have a U.S. centric post that I introduce it in a way that readers in France are going to get. Um, but uh, I find the greatest themes of humor, jealousy, anxiety, worry. These are all universal things. People around the world feel them. People relate to them in different ways. It's one of the reasons why different societies spring up, is that different societies and different people have different ways of dealing with the human condition. There's humor in that too. So whenever I'm traveling abroad, like when I was in Costa Rica earlier this year, when I cruised the Danube last year, when I spent a month in France a couple of years ago, I'm always filtering that through my particular sensibility, but I'm also aware of the great privilege it is to immerse myself in other cultures, see what makes them tick, see how I relate to them. So, I try to be uh, global in what I do. The symbol of my Substack is a globe with two arms reaching out around it, my arms giving it a big hug, and I'm bracing it with my humor, and in 43 countries, it's working.
And so, how do you use AI on a day to day basis? So, are you, I don't know, challenging ChatGPT to get some new ideas, or do you let AI creating jokes for you? I mean, I'm just curious about the way you approach AI in your work.
I approach AI as my idiot assistant. It's not very well trained. It's not all that smart, actually. It will never come up with an original idea. And I'm okay with that. For my $20 a month with ChatGPT, I only give it the most basic challenges, which is, you know, tell me what's known about how James Thurber got his first job. I just wrote a letter to James Thurber for a website. He's my favorite humorist. He was a cartoonist for the New Yorker the first half of the last century, um, and uh, and an amazing artist. And from the time I was a child, I loved his work. So, but I wouldn't rely on ChatGPT to actually give me any content that I can use. And in fact, if it did, I wouldn't use it anyway because it wouldn't be my stuff. But if I want to know what what was going on in the life of James Thurber when he turned to cartooning, it's not a bad place to look because the ChatGPT will have ingested the sources and can spit back out the short version of what I need to know there. But if to the extent that I'm going to do anything worth paying attention to, worth laughing at, worth considering, it's going to be when I take that baseline of information that AI spat out and augment it, transform it, make it into something human and funny. That's what my readers are going to come for. They're not going to come for me pressing a button and regurgitating the stuff that is already known and accepted in the world.
Mhm. So, humor is a very broad field. You can be extremely safe or you can be extremely bold and provocative. Uh, have you pushed AI that far? Have you tried to push ChatGPT to its limits? And what did you notice?
Well, the limits of ChatGPT is it's a dumb machine and it doesn't understand there's nothing behind what it's sending to you. It's a collection of ones and zeros that it pushes under your nose. So
Mhm.
as far as taking ChatGPT to the limit, it's so limited itself in what it can tell me, but useful in those limitations. So, like I said, it's my idiot assistant. It can provide only a certain amount of help, but I appreciate having that help now, and it does make my work better. So, thank you, ChatGPT.
For you and your colleagues, aren't you afraid that sometimes AI will standardize the way we speak and the way we make jokes and the way we practice humor? Because is everyone is using AI to as an assistant, for example, the level will pretty much be the same. The innovation will pretty much be the same. How do you distinguish yourself from other humorists or cartoonists in that context?
I'm grateful that AI is out there. I'm grateful that the images that it produces are kind of antiseptic and a notch above stock photography, which as a magazine editor, I know that stock photography is going to be generic.
Mhm.
Uh, ChatGPT and AI present generic information, and that's fine. And there's a place for that, and I'm grateful for it. But to the extent that I personally am producing generic images or generic information, that means that my Substack will go from 14,000 subscribers to zero because people will take one look at it and say, "Nah, I've heard that before. That joke is stale. That information is stuff I already knew." there's no reason for me to click the link on anymore on this guy's posts, and that will be the end of me. But if I can use ChatGPT and AI as a straight man, as I said before, if I can use it to tell me what the standard level of information is, that's where I rise above, and that's where the fun is. So I'm grateful that's there. I don't feel threatened at all. Um, I feel like an individual human with a sense of humor and some drawing skills can beat the pants off of AI at any moment because it will have a unique, quirky human perspective on the world. And that's what I want to put out there.
Do you have your own guardrails in terms of humor? Are there any subject that you know you will never make a joke about? I don't know, religion, politics, anything else. Like, what's your code of ethics in terms of humor?
The only thing that I would avoid is being cruel and making fun of specific people, unless I'm being cruel and making fun of myself, which
Mhm.
I'm fair game for my own sense of humor. Um, self-deprecating humor is one of the best ways you can go because the only person who could possibly be offended by it is myself. Um, but no, as far as religion, politics, sports, um, it's part of what makes humor work is this whole sacrosanct world. Whenever you get too precious about a subject, it's an opportunity for humor. And in fact, that's how I got my job at the Colorado Sun. Was that Coloradans are kind of we live in a beautiful state and we have our sports that we love to do and our precious food and our precious foodie culture that we love and our political niceties that we observe, and all of that is ripe for humor. Which is what I pitched the editor of the Colorado Sun and saying, Coloradans are all up themselves over, how great their state is, and in fact, how great they are. We need somebody who's going to make fun of them, and I would be happy to be that guy. So I use my perspective as a Coloradan, but also as someone who moved here, to take a look at the state and say, what is ridiculous about this beautiful place? And there's a vein of humor there that I like to explore.
I said as an introduction that you spend your career making people think and love. What makes you love today?
It's there's that whole Freudian concept that the things that make us the most anxious are the things that also make us laugh. That laughter is a protective um, response to disturbing stimuli in the universe, and there are many distinctive disturbing stimuli in the neighborhood right now, which is, for somebody in my position, uh, I like to make fun of it. So I can step back and consider the anxieties of our age, and then using my sense of humor, take another perspective on it, another take, and maybe that'll lighten a moment for somebody, give them some joy, and I believe that joy is where resilience comes from too. That if you can laugh at something, you've made a step of putting it apart from you and dealing with it. So humor is one of the ways I deal. The more anxiety I have, the funnier I can be, because it pushes me over the limit. So that's how I use it. And, I'm not going to set any limits on myself there. If it scares me or worries me, I'm going to find a way to make it funny.
Okay. So, and when you see AI or ChatGPT or I mean any kind of generative AI tool trying to be funny, what goes through your mind?
I think, I have career security at last. Um, there are a lot of people, and in fact, I had jobs where I had teams of interns churning out like boilerplate health copy, which I would put a couple of jokes in and then publish in Men's Health magazine. And for years and years that worked. I fear for that intern now because he or she might not get that job because ChatGPT is okay at churning out boilerplate health copy. Um, so as ever, every generation has its own career challenges. This one does too. But with every challenge, there's an opportunity, and I overcame all that to start my career. I have no doubt that the young people of today will take a look at the landscape, find their place in it, and move along. Because the fact is that humanity has a bias towards storytelling. That's how we wrap our arms around our lives, is to tell the story of our lives and figure them out that way. So the storytellers are never going to go away. It used to be around the fire. Back in the day when fire was what united humanity. Now we gather around social media, which is another kind of community fire. Um, that's always going to be present. And for the storytellers out there, ChatGPT will be no threat because it can't make up a story to save its life.
So you've said you don't feel threatened by AI as an artist, but do you think that sense of security is widely shared in your circles, or are others more anxious?
I'm a very fortunate person because I did work in legacy media for several decades, and I had a war chest built up at the time when my career fell out from under me. So old me and old media is now subsidizing the new me. So I'd be the first guy to say I have enormous privilege. I acknowledge that privilege. I'm grateful for it, and I worked hard to establish it for myself. So, you know, it's it's an embarrassment compared to what I used to be earning, what I'm earning now from all this. But there are psychic benefits that come to me too, and I'm just glad that I'm in a position in life where I can explore this new tangent and not, starve my wife and children. Humor is not a way to put a meal on the table. That's for sure.
Are you concerned about other creative jobs or the future of the workplace? I'm thinking copywriters, translators, graphic designers, illustrators. What do you think the future of creative job will be in a world where AI will be a commodity?
Yeah, I'm concerned for all of those people, and I would just point to my older son went to NYU and studied documentary filmmaking, and I thought, what the heck is he going to do for a career now? And what he was able to do was, while he was an undergraduate and continuing today, he was putting together a lot of different skills, a lot of technical skills. So I think that, for all of those careers that you just mentioned, the key is going to be how many blades are there in your Swiss Army knife? How many skills do you have that can allow you to be a communicator in a way that you weren't able to before? So it was one of the breakthroughs that happened for me was when I started working with a digital drawing platform called Procreate, which sounds like something that will help you get pregnant, but in fact is a drawing and animation program out of New Zealand, which is just mind blowing. And when I was doing my commentaries for NPR in the U.S. Um, on a lark, I said to my producer, I can do animations to go along with my commentaries. And she said, yeah, sure, we would love that. And then I was like, I had a stark moment because, in fact, at that moment, I had never done an animation before. But I went into Procreate. I learned the lessons about how to be a animator, and now it's a big part of my work. Had I not been challenged that way, it never would have happened. Had I not challenged myself, and I think that technology is not going to stop because it's inconvenient for me as a creator. What I need to do is look at the technology and find the ways that it gives me a leg up and gives me new opportunities to do what I do. Procreate has definitely done that. There will be other things that help me do that, and I'm going to keep my eyes open and my education continuing so that I I use the very best tools that are available to me at any moment.
Which advice could you give to people who want to jump into the humor world, who wants to be, cartoonist or I don't know, stand-up artist or something like that?
My best advice is to look within, to find out what your sources of inspiration and humor are. If you want to be in the humor realm, um, the all the best work comes out of personal passion, rather than, oh, that looks like it might be fun. I'm going to try to be like those other people. Being like those other people will never work because those other people are already doing it. In order to be a unique and compelling voice in the world, you need to understand what your own voice is, what your own subjects of humor are, what kind of artist you are, what makes your work unique to you. That's what is ultimately going to draw eyeballs, is if they can come to you for something that nobody else is offering. And that takes a lot of work and a lot of introspection and a lot of being willing to fail. My Substack had a couple of hundred subscribers for the first 2 years I was doing it. As I said earlier, now it's 14,000 subscribers, and that's because there was something essential in there that I needed to get out into the world. Eventually, people started noticing it and supporting me in that, which has been great. But it took that first investment in myself, in that look within, to see what I had that I alone could provide. That's the first step along the way. And if you're making yourself laugh and you can take delight in what you yourself are doing, um, there's people will discover you, or maybe they won't. You don't know, but you have to take that look within first.
Okay, that's good advice. Thank you for that. Maybe one last question. What's the funniest thing AI has ever said to you, even if it wasn't supposed to be a joke?
You know, because I come out of a long career in the magazine business, um, I've spent decades asking writers, well, what's your source for that? Why do you think that that's the truth? So it isn't any different now that AI is my idiot assistant. Always after I ask, put a prompt into ChatGPT, then I will always follow up with, and what are your sources for that? Most of the time, when I ask that, there's a long pause, and then ChatGPT will come up with a list of sources. Most of the links will be broken. Some of the articles won't exist at all. And what I realize is that it has no clue. It has no idea, which I find kind of funny and encouraging, because if ChatGPT doesn't have a clue, I know that I do, and I'm going to preserve that. So, it's almost like ChatGPT is a source for information and falsehood, which I find kind of funny. And but it's also something I'm protective against when I dive in there. And now that I understand it on those terms, it works out fine for me.
Would you say that hallucinations, so hallucinations means creating fake data, fake facts, fake persona or people with a very convincing tone. So would you say that hallucinations in ChatGPT are actually something you might want to look for while other people would have a tendency to avoid it?
Well, yeah. I mean, I once did a cartoon of a robot on a psychiatrist's couch, and the psychiatrist is telling him, asking the robot to tell him more about his original sources of information. And you know, we as psychologists can cast an eye on human history through the biases and mistakes that ChatGPT comes up with. But it requires that distance from what ChatGPT is putting out there, and regarding it from that distance, judging what it is saying to you. And sometimes the prejudices and idiocies that are on there are also prejudices and idiocies that human beings are guilty of, and that's a rich source of humor. So thank you, ChatGPT, for showing me exactly how human beings are idiotic and giving me good source material.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Peter. So at the end of each episode, the guest answers a question posed by the previous guest. After that, you'll have the opportunity to ask a question for the next guest. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Perfect. So here's your question, courtesy of Karen Boyd, who is Director of Research at the Policy and Innovation Center in San Diego, California. We can listen to her question right now.
People feels very polarized, right? There are people who will very skeptical, won't use this for ethical reasons or for, this is all a hype machine, etc. And then there are people who are like, I use this for everything and this is going to change the way we work. I wonder if is there a middle ground? What does that middle ground look like, at that balance? And how do we work on teams with that diverse of a perspective on AI?
It's a great question. Thanks for playing that for me, and I'm relieved to know that I actually have an answer to it. It all has to do with, always with human beings. It has to bringing our own quirky sense of self to the world as we know it. And you know what? ChatGPT is not the world as we know it. It's the world that has already been portrayed in print in lots of different places. And that means, by definition, it's 3 months, 5 months, 5 years behind the times. We are living in the present. So what we need to do is compare what ChatGPT or what our prompts are delivering to us with the reality as we know it. So It's good to know where the world was, and ChatGPT is great at telling us that. But only we humans can take the tenor of our times and can take the pulse of what's going on right now and use that to launch businesses, to write an article, to make a joke, to make a movie. So what we need to do as human beings is place our sensibility on top of what the robot is helping us do. The robot is not going to be capable of fine-tuned work, but we as human beings are, and that's what work teams are all about: is collaborating on, what defining what the world is now and what our opportunity is in it. So ChatGPT can help us define the world, but it can't tell us what our opportunities are because ChatGPT doesn't know what they are. It hasn't experienced them yet, but we have. So that's our big opportunity right now.
Perfect. Thank you, Peter. So now, what question would you like to pose for the next guest?
For the next guest, I would ask them what question they wished a podcaster would ask them, but nobody has so far. And now that you've thought of that question, answer it yourself.
Perfect. It's a good one. Thank you so much, Peter. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you for joining me.
You bet. It was great to be here.
And that wraps up another episode of AI Experience. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Hey, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe on your podcast platform. Your support counts, and your comments can really help share this experience with others. You can also visit the website ai-experience.io to find out more. See you soon for a new episode.